Invictus Legend, the newest flanker to the growing and very successful, very popular Invictus fragrance lineup. Of course, we all know Invictus. This is where it all started. This is what turned a crazy amount of heads. You had people all over the spectrum, all over the board, people loving it and raving over it, and people just downright hating it. Regardless of which side of the fence you were on, there's no denying that this is a very popular DNA. And of course, also with the release of the Invictus Aqua fragrances, the 2018 version right here, but of course the 2016, the OG Invictus Aqua, which really caught a lot of hype when it first came out. Needless to say, this DNA is popular. Paco Rabanne sees the success that it has, and they're probably not going to be stopping anytime soon with the flankers. And there has also been Invictus Intense, which is a fragrance that I have gotten my nose on. Haven't spent all that much time with it, but that one really didn't get a whole lot of love, a whole lot of talk. However, Invictus Legend, the newest release, has been getting a little bit of buzz here lately, and of course I had to pick it up. So today I'm going to be reviewing it. I'm going to tell you my full thoughts on this one, how it compares to the other Invictus fragrances, and if I think it's worth picking up. So what's your thought on Invictus Legend? Make sure you let me know down in the comments, and of course I will drop a link for you to pick this one up at a discount website. I believe both FragranceNet and FragranceX has this one in stock, so I will leave those down below in case you want to pick up a bottle for yourself. But of course I hope you're ready to get into this, and I hope you stick with me through the end of the video as well. Let's dive into this review. So starting off with the opening of this fragrance. When you first spray this one on, you can tell a couple of things right off the bat. One, you can tell that this is an Invictus flanker, right? It has that sweet, bubblegummy type of smell. And two, you can also tell that this one isn't necessarily as close to the original Invictus opening. This one, again, it does have that bubblegum sweetness, but it opens up a bit more citric in that type of way. The original Invictus, this one opens up very aquatic and fresh and somewhat cooling. So, I do really and actually enjoy the opening of the original Invictus. I think, it's not a half bad scent for what it is. But the opening of this one, in my opinion, really kind of lacks a little bit. It doesn't quite have that same charm that the original Invictus does, and even Invictus Aqua. I love, the openings of both of those. Invictus Aqua, one of my favorite summer fragrances, but this one is a bit more citric, and it just doesn't have that same, aquatic, fresh type of opening. Another thing about this fragrance, what it reminds me of is a little bit of Azzaro Wanted and Davidoff Run Wild, those types of fragrances which were kind of modeled after Invictus. It kind of leans more towards those fragrances in my opinion. Again, you get this nice juicy, bubblegummy, aquatic, semi-sweet opening from Invictus, which, again, it does smell really nice and very pleasant, but you don't get, again, quite the same appeal from this one. So it does differentiate right off the bat when you first spray this one on. What this one does have is the addition of amber, and it's very prominent. Now, if you look at Invictus Intense, you'll see that that fragrance also has a pretty prominent amber note. It's also got like whiskey, so it's a sweeter version. Again, I have smelled it, but not really enough to fully give like a confident comparison. So for the sake of this video, I'm not going to be comparing this all that much to Invictus Intense. I just haven't spent enough time with it, but I have spent a lot of time with Invictus Aqua and Invictus, and to be honest with you, this differentiates quite a bit from Invictus and Invictus Aqua. Again, it still is that DNA, but if you actually look online, people are comparing this one a lot to Invictus Aqua, and to be honest with you, I just don't see the comparison quite that much, other than the fact that it is the Invictus DNA. To me, this one just does come across a bit more sharp and also just a bit more citric. It's not quite as smooth and sweet and bubblegummy. It's just got a bit of a harsher edge to it. And also I find that this one is just overall a bit less aquatic than Invictus and Invictus Aqua. Again, kind of leaning more towards the direction of Azzaro Wanted, Davidoff Run Wild. Those kind of have that bubblegummy sweet type of DNA, but they aren't fully necessarily aquatics, kind of like how Invictus and Invictus Aqua are. And the dry down, you still do maintain that sweetness and a little bit of that citric type of smell, and for the most part, it stays relatively linear. You're not getting a whole lot of change and a whole lot of development through this fragrance. Basically, what you get in the opening is going to, for the most part, carry into the dry down with some moderate changes here and there. It's nothing crazy, though. And one thing I do want to bring to your attention here with this one is you want to spray this one on your skin when you test it. Spraying it on paper or something like that it really doesn't do it justice. It needs skin to really smell good. And even when you spray it on your skin, I don't recommend smelling it up close. Try to let it come to you naturally in the air, just from your arm movements. If you're spraying it on your hand or whatever the case may be, just kind of let it rise up to you rather than digging your nose right into it. Because as we're all familiar with these Invictus fragrances and just kind of these bubblegummy fragrances in general, they do have a bit of a sharp and synthetic smell to them. Not in a bad way, but they just aren't really all that smooth when you smell them up close. These are intended for air and they need room to breathe. That's kind of when these do best. So when can you wear Invictus Legend? Honestly, it's going to be kind of one of those fragrances that you can do about anything with in the casual side of things. Spring, summer, fall, winter, basically any time of the year for casual wearings. It's going to do great. If I had to pick one season for it, I would almost say spring and fall, just when it's a little bit cooler, because again, this one just doesn't have that like summery aquatic type of smell that Invictus and Invictus Aqua does, at least to me. I mean, you do have sea notes and stuff like that and bay leaf in this fragrance, which do oftentimes add a marine and watery aquatic type of smell, but I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just haven't gotten that much of an aquatic smell out of it, and I've been testing it for quite a while here. It just doesn't have the same type of feel as, again, the aforementioned fragrances. Performance on this fragrance is really, really good though, and that's kind of what you get from most of the line here, at least from the original Invictus and from my 2016 Invictus Aqua. Even the 2018 version performs good too. This one's no slouch either. Longevity on my skin, it was lasting at least 9-10 hours, and at that point it was dying down quite a bit. Projection when I first sprayed it on was very favorable as well. I mean, this stuff, I couldn't get away from it. It was constantly coming up to me, and I was smelling it for the majority of the time that I was wearing it without really having to try and search for it on my hand. It was just coming up to me. So very, very strong performance from this fragrance, and that's kind of what you would expect. Now, to be honest with you, where does this fragrance fit in the Invictus line, and do I think it is worth picking up? So for me, this is not a fragrance that I personally can recommend to you guys to really go out there and pick up. And here's the reason why. I mean, for me, when I think of and when I smell Invictus, I think of that bubblegummy, sweet, aquatic, fun, marine type of scent. I mean, you get it from the original, you get it from the Aqua versions, both 2016 and of course the 2018 as well. That's just what you get. Obviously in the Aqua version compared to the regular Invictus, the aquaticness is toned up, the sweetness is turned down, you get more citrus, all that good stuff. But both to me are relatively aquatic scents. And I just don't get that here from Invictus Legend. It just doesn't have that. And really, from what I remember when smelling Invictus Intense, it doesn't have really that same type of Invictus-y, fun aquatic type of smell either. And that's not a bad thing, because they are trying to diversify here and release flankers that do go in a different direction, and for that I give them props. But for me, when I'm thinking and wanting to reach for Invictus, I want to reach for Invictus or Invictus Aqua. I want that really aquatic Invictus DNA. Honestly, I don't get it here from Invictus Legend, and if I'm not getting that from Invictus Legend, I'm just gonna wear something else, because when I want Invictus, I want Invictus, and this just doesn't quite give me that same type of feel as these other ones do. And for some of you that may be good news, but for me personally, this doesn't add a whole lot of value and a whole lot of merit to the Paco Rabanne Invictus line. I do think the original and Aqua are better than this one, and if you don't like those, this isn't necessarily one that you need to rush out and pick up either. I would say just go for maybe something different in general. Again, that's just my personal opinion here. I wasn't wowed by this fragrance, and I'm just relaying that on to you guys. I do think there are better fragrances from this line, and really just better fragrances out there in general, especially when we're talking about new releases here. I'm not overly excited about this one. Now, the bottle, I will admit, does look pretty nice, and it would kind of lead you to think that maybe this is their interpretation on more of a blue fragrance, like a blue ambroxan fragrance. Obviously we do have Invictus Aqua, which is in a blue bottle and is aquatic, but I mean, when you look at this like darker blue, kind of looks like it could be a Dylan Blue Sauvage, Blue de Chanel, Aqua Atlantique category, but it doesn't go in that category really at all. So, I don't want anyone to get mixed up there. This doesn't really have any sort of blue fragrance vibe like you may think when you see the bottle, since, well, we've been having a lot of those types of fragrances released. And I will go ahead and mention this before I get questions about it. Yes, these are both tester bottles, which is why it has the name on the front. I mean, for obvious reasons, when you're trying these in a department store, you need to know the name of the fragrance. So both of these do have the name on the front, and of course on the bottom there it does say tester. Just if any of you do buy a tester, which for me I do think is the way to go with these Invictus fragrances because they don't have a cap, just be aware that it will have the name on the front. That may or may not affect your decision to purchase a tester. It's just something I wanted to make you aware of. Compliment factor, of course, is going to be pretty good. Do I think it's going to be necessarily better than the others in the line? No, I really don't. I think you're going to be better off with the original and Aqua in terms of compliments. Of course, Invictus Aqua, killer for compliments. The original is too. This one still is going to be mass pleasing, but again, I don't think it's really going to do a better job than the previous versions of the scent. So guys, that's pretty much going to do it for me. That was my thoughts on the new Invictus Legend by Paco Rabanne. Again, if you have tried this one, let me know what you think of it down below. Are you tired of these types of fragrances? Let me know. I'm sure a lot of you guys are, because I hear about it all the time, and trust me, I get it. Just trying to cover all the new releases as they come out. One, because I'm genuinely curious. I like smelling the new hot items, and also I know you guys are curious as well. The new reviews on fragrances aren't going to be coming. I still have more to cover and more coming in as well. So hopefully you guys are enjoying these videos, especially kind of while we're in this weird situation with the quarantine. Everyone's stuck at home. I'm trying to put out as much content as I can. I'm trying to upload every single day just to kind of give you guys something to watch when you can't go out and do your thing or you can't go to work or whatever. So hopefully you guys have been liking the uploads. That's going to do it for me, guys. Again, this will be linked down below. If you have any sort of interest in picking it up, I would check it out down below because it will be at discounted prices. That's going to do it for me, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night with another one. Take care.